UFC Vegas 80 Dawson vs. Green takes place this weekend, and I'm going to be leading you through my full card predictions and betting breakdown. Starting out with the early prelims, we have JJ Aldrich versus Montala De La Rosa, and in this matchup, I'm going to be picking Montala De La Rosa. I don't believe JJ Aldrich will be able to stuff all of the takedowns from Montana, and we will see a fun lay-in prey decision. Moving on to the next fight of the card, we're going to see Orichi Lang versus Johnny Munoz Jr. In this matchup, I'm going to be picking Orichi Lang. I think Orichi Lang is not the greatest fighter, neither is Johnny Munoz. This is a very close fight, and I've been leaning both ways. However, I made my prediction. Orichi Lang is going to KO him in the first round. Here's why. Orichi Lang is a very powerful striker. Is he the most technical? No, he gets hit a lot. Johnny Munoz Jr. is not the greatest striker either. He is a jiu-jitsu nerd, but he does like his hands a little bit. What I see happening in this matchup is I see Johnny Munoz Jr. striking a little bit in the first round, landing some shots because Orichi Lang is very hittable, and that will give him some false confidence. Orichi Lang is then going to walk forward and knock the fuck out of him. Round 1 KO, put it down. I'm sure that there's some good play on this. I wouldn't play the money line because I'm not very confident either way, but I believe this is how this could work out. I could see Johnny Munoz Jr. getting a sub, winning by decision. Same thing with Orichi Lang. This is a very unpredictable fight, but if I had to go on one method and one fighter, I'm betting on Orichi Lang because I like his power and I like his striking, and he may be able to stop the takedowns as well. Moving on to the next fight of the card, we will be breaking down Kanako Murata versus Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa Demopoulos is not a bad fighter. She does have a very good chance. She could potentially stop the takedowns. Sub Kanako Murata, but I do believe Kanako Murata is at the end of the day going to get these takedowns, and we are going to see another decision that's not very fun. However, I will say the value is on Vanessa Demopoulos. If you're betting anyone, bet Vanessa. Do not throw Kanako Murata in your parlays. She's not a lock. Consider Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa Demopoulos does not have the greatest hands. She isn't the greatest grappler, but she does have very nice submissions. She is a live dog. However, I do trust Kanako Murata in this matchup, just not as a minus 300 or minus 400, I believe it is now, favorite. That's absolutely crazy. Vanessa, I could absolutely see getting this fight done, but we're going to go with Murata, like I said, decision. It's going to be wrestling. We're going to see a couple of submission attempts from Vanessa Demopoulos on bottom. But at the end of the day, it's going to be unanimous decision, 30-27, Kanako Murata. Moving on up the card, we have Mateusz Mendoza versus Nate Maness. Nate Maness is coming off 2 losses to Tagir Ulanbekov and Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar Nurmagomedov is a very great fighter. He's a prospect that's moving up in the bantamweight division that a lot of the community believes in, including myself. So I don't hold his loss too harshly against him. However, he did not have much success against Umar in that fight. His Tagir Ulanbekov loss is one that it kind of scares me a little bit in this matchup, just because Tagir is a guy that I don't truly believe in. He was able to submit him in a wrestling scramble, and when you look at Mateusz, he has very great submissions. So, in my opinion, if Mateusz hurts him at all, which I think he does, Mateusz is going to be able to either get the sub or the TKO more than likely. However, Nate has very good cardio. Mateusz doesn't seem like it. If Nate is able to survive the first round, I would pick him to win this fight. However, this is going to be a round 1 submission or knockout by Mateusz. I'm picking Mateusz Mendoza by round 1 submission. He trains how to shoot the box. He's coming off a loss against Javid Basharat. Javid Basharat is a prospect that I personally do believe in, so I don't hold that loss too harshly against him. However, he didn't look fantastic in that fight, but I guess surviving Javid, having some success, is not that bad of a thing. So Mateusz, I think, is going to walk him down, eventually clip Nate Maness, and Nate Maness is going to shoot him on takedown. Mateusz is going to scramble to the back, and he's eventually going to finish this by a rear naked choke towards the mid to late first round. But Nate Maness is a very live dog. Moving on up the card, we have Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Diana Belbita. In this matchup, I am going to be picking Karolina Kowalkiewicz by decision. I think Diana Belbita has a way to win this. She has very good pressure, and I think that could upset Karolina. And she does have decent grappling. It is underrated. If she uses it, she could potentially out-grapple Karolina to a decision. Maybe, get a finish. But I could see the pressure of Diana causing some problems for Karolina. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Karolina's going to stay at range, outpoint her on the feet. This won't be that boring of a fight. I think it'll actually be pretty entertaining. Diana overall seems to have pretty entertaining fights. But I am going to be going with Karolina Kowalkiewicz in this matchup. So excuse the pronunciation. I don't really know how to pronounce that. But by decision. Moving on up the card, we have Felipe Lins versus Ian Cutelaba. Ian Cutelaba is 2-3 in his last 5 with losses against Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker, and Kennedy Nzechukwu. Two of the losses were submission, and one was by KO, which was by Kennedy and Zechiku. The thing with Ion Cutelaba is he's super live in round one. Round one bet is something I wouldn't mind. You could hedge that with a Felipe Lins finish in round 2 or 3, maybe even a Felipe Lins decision. We'll see how it goes. But Ion Cutelaba is a fighter where it's almost round 1 or bust, and he could obviously start at round 2. It's just I don't trust him in rounds 2 and 3, especially against a guy like Felipe Lins who does have power in his hands himself. Felipe Lins is a guy who is a former heavyweight, has power in his hands, and I believe is a BJJ black belt. Don't quote me on that because I'm not entirely sure. But I do trust his submission defense against Ion Cutelaba if it does go to the ground. And he does have somewhat okay takedown defense. And I think he could stuff the takedowns against Ion Cutelaba. But if Ion Cutelaba does get the takedowns, I believe he could survive. And once it hits round 2, I see Ion Cutelaba gassing somewhat midway through. And I see a late round 2, early round 3 KO for Felipe Lins. I just can't trust Ion Cutelaba in any fight. I've told myself this many times, and I flipped my pick. I picked him against Kennedy and Zechiku. Didn't work out. He's just a hard guy to predict. I will admit that this is a very close fight, but I'm going to be taking underdog in this matchup simply because of the size difference. You look at Ion, poor chin. He is undersized for light heavyweight. You look at Felipe, former heavyweight, has power, good submission defense. If he survives the first round, I see him clipping Ion and getting the TKO. Like I said, Ion's live round 1. Felipe, round 2, round 3, he's live. He can win the decision. He can get the submission as well. But I'm going to be going with Felipe in this matchup. I can't look past on paper. There's a massive size difference. One has a bad chin, and one has power. I just have to go with Felipe Lins in this matchup. I wanted to pick Ion Cutelaba because I like him more. He's more entertaining. He's more fun to probably cheer for. But I can't pick him. Even though Felipe Lins, his last matchup against Maxime Grishin was very, very sloppy. It didn't impress me at all. But I still think that he has the tools to beat Ion Cutelaba. Moving on up the card, we have Bill Aljo versus Alexander Hernandez. Alexander Hernandez is a guy who's very dangerous in round 1. However, he gasses afterwards. And he might be the more skilled fighter. He's very good wrestling. And he has very powerful hands. Bill Aljo is a guy who's very high output striking. He gets hit, though. So Alexander Hernandez can absolutely KO him in the first round. Maybe early round 2. But I'm going to be trusting the durability of Bill Aljo in this matchup. I think he's going to outlast Alexander Hernandez in round 1. Survive. He's going to get clipped. I think a live bet after round 1 is a very smart play here if Bill Aljo is getting pieced up. Because Alexander Hernandez is going to start out round 2, have a little bit of energy, waste it, and Bill Aljo is going to steal round 2. And I think he gets to finish in round 3. If not, I think he could get the decision as well. Bill Aljo has very good submissions. I believe he's a black belt as well. I'm not entirely sure. If not, I know that he has good jiu-jitsu. He just has very good cardio, which will overwhelm Alexander Hernandez, and I can trust him in the later rounds. He's been durable in the past. And Bill Aljo is a guy I just like in this matchup. The only reason why I'm a little bit scared of it is because Alexander Hernandez might hit different at 145. However, when we look at his last fight at 145, he fought Billy Quarantillo and lost by KO. And in his recent fight, he fought Jim Miller, and he won by unanimous decision. He showed decent cardio there, but in my opinion, he was just, he slowed down his pace, which was very nice to see, but I don't think you can do that against Bill Aljo. If that happens, Bill Aljo is just going to outpace you. He's going to land more shots than you, and he's going to outpoint you. So, respectfully, I'm going to go with Bill Aljo by round 3 TKO. Put some money on that. You could win big. I think it's plus 2,200, so $1 wins you $22. Throw a little sprinkle on it. Why not? Moving on up the card, we have Drew Dober versus Ricky Glenn. Both of these fighters are coming off of losses by knockout, and both of them have power in the hands. This should be a striking matchup in which I lean Drew Dober. However, it does scare me a little bit because he did get dropped pretty badly and knocked out by Matt Rivola. However, when I looked at it, I thought that it was an early stoppage. We've seen him recover from crazy shots like the Terrence McKinney fight, and he came back to KO Terrence McKinney that exact round. So I do believe that he would have gotten back up. I do think it was an early stoppage. But whether or not you think so, he wasn't flatlined. So it's not super concerning. Obviously, it is concerning. Ricky Glenn has power in his hands, so he could KO Drew Dober. I could absolutely see that happening. I don't like how wide the odds are here. I would go with minus 250 in favor of Drew Dober. But like I said, he's not a lock. If you're going to place a bet on this one, I would sprinkle Drew Dober round 1 KO just because it is plus money. I do think that will happen. But Ricky Glenn, if you want to sprinkle a value play, Ricky Glenn by KO or Ricky Glenn money line, all right, fucking that's all you, man. Ricky Glenn's knockout loss is coming off against Christos Gialgas, by the way, who in my opinion is not as good as Matt Frevola. Moving on up the card, we have Alex Morono versus Joaquin Buckley, and I'm going to be taking the underdog in this matchup. I think Alex Morono is one of the most underrated fighters. Fun fact, his nickname is the Great White, which sounds racist. Maybe it is, fucking whatever. He's going to win this fight. Joaquin Buckley is a guy who has knockout power. He's been known to get in brawls and get chinned. He's known as a glass cannon, and I think he does get finished in this matchup. However, I have seen improvements. He moves his head a little bit better. He fights at range a little bit better. In the Chris Curtis fight, he was fighting at range pretty well until he got clipped, obviously. The issue is, Alex Morono is a guy that I see as a very great brawler. If you didn't know, he's a very high-level black belt. Very great grappling, dangerous on the ground and dangerous on the feet. Solid chin. He did get KO'd against Ponzinibbio a fight ago, but recently he fought and beat Tim Means by guillotine. He submitted Tim Means, and that's kind of, if you want to do some MMA math, Andre Fialho lost to Joaquin Buckley in Joaquin Buckley's last fight by KO in the first round, and Andre Fialho recently got KO'd by Tim Means, who Alex Morono submitted. So therefore, Alex Morono has an impressive win. But no, Alex Morono is very, very underrated. He was beating Ponzinibbio on short notice for throughout the first 2 rounds until Ponzinibbio KO'd him in the 3rd round. And if that's not short notice, I'm taking Alex Morono. He's been heavily, heavily underrated. He's 4-1 in his last 5 wins. And I just trust his grappling. When you look at his Matt Semmelsberger performance, he dealt with the power of Matt Semmelsberger very, very well. Joaquin Buckley, just a guy I don't know if I can trust here. Especially at cutting weight as well. We haven't really seen him get clipped very badly. I guess Andre did clip him a little bit, but Morono, I like him as in the pocket. I think Morono will land something in the pocket. Round 2. I think Joaquin will win round 1. I think he'll stay at range, land a couple of shots. Morono's going to scare you a little bit, and then round 2, he's going to come out, he's going to get in the pocket, he's going to clip Buckley, Buckley's going to shoot him on a bad takedown, and we're going to see a Darce choke here in round 2. As an underdog, I can't pass up on Morono here. I love Buckley, personally, he's fucking hilarious, but I just can't pick him over Alex Morono. Moving on up the card, we have Joe Pyfer versus Abdul Razak Alhassan. I'm going to be going with Joe Pyfer here, but this is another one of those where, why the fuck is this that wide? I think this should probably be minus 200 Joe Pyfer. This should be a striking fight. When you look at it, it should be. Abdul Razak Alhassan, though, does have some very good judo. Joe Pyfer has shown that he's a decent grappler as well. If I remember correctly, he had a grappling tournament fight against someone. It was somewhat impressive. He ragdolled them. He is pretty solid wrestling, but he hasn't won against these guys. He hasn't won against high enough level guys to where I can trust him. So far in the UFC, he has been Alan Amedovski, and Gerald Mearshart, who just was an easy stylistic matchup, especially with how the fight went. It was fucking really easy for him. And I'm not saying that he didn't fight the fight that he did fight, but let's say if Gerald Mearshart took him down, he survived the submissions, he was able to scramble back up, that would be very impressive as well. Just like he had no adversity in that fight, he just fucking fucked them up, right? Abdul Razak Alhassan has power in the hands. He can fucking brawl. And when you look at this matchup stylistically, 2 fighters that can brawl, they both have power. No one should be a minus 400 favorite. Joe Pyfer hasn't really beaten anyone that really impressed me. If you're on the Abdul Razak Alhassan side, I respect you. But I don't think Abdul's going to use his judo here. I think this is pretty clearly going to be a striking match in my opinion. I've been wrong before. But I see Abdul landing a shot, and if you're a Pyfer better, especially money line, you're going to be scared at some point in this fight. I think Abdul does clip him. Trying to refresh my memory. Abdul is coming off a knockout against Claudio Ribeiro, and he did lose to Joaquin Buckley by split decision before that. Abdul doesn't have the greatest cardio, which is also another reason why that's a fact that I like on Joe Pyfer's side. I think Joe Pyfer gets it done in round 1 because they're going to bang. Abdul's going to get hurt. And I see Pyfer finishing it. But I'm not super confident in this one. If you're going to play something, I actually have a play on Razak Alhassan by KO. He can get it done, man. He could touch Joe Pyfer. And when you look at the Alan Amedovski fight, Pyfer's open, especially when he was trying to finish Amidowski. He was open for counters. Razak is a fucking dog. If anyone can get it done, it's him. When I say anyone, meaning when I say anyone, I guess not anyone, because there are guys I would pick over Joe Pyfer for sure. But you look at it, man. He can fucking. I'm sorry. He can fucking bang, dude. Yeah, fuck. We're going with Joe Pyfer though. He's shown nothing that can make me pick against him. He has performed the way he's supposed to perform against the cans. Not that Gerald Meerschaert's a can, because apparently he can fucking beat the champion and then lose to a bum the next day. So he's I don't know, kind of bipolar with the way he wins and loses fights. I don't know what to say inside of that, but Joe Pyfer has done nothing to make me want to pick Abdul Razak Al-Hassan over him thus far, although he hasn't done anything to make it a minus 400 price tag. The value's on Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. I'll stop waffling. We're going to get on to the next fight of the card, which is Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. We are finally on to the main event. Bobby Green does have a wrestling background. He can stuff these takedowns, and he is the better striker. Grant Dawson times very great takedowns. I just see Bobby Green maybe overextending on a punch, even just throwing a punch. Grant Dawson's going to get in. He is very dangerous early. I think round one, he's going to get the takedown, maybe like a minute or two in, and just wrestle fuck him. It's going to be a little bit boring, guys. I'm sorry. Round two is where I see him working the magic. Same thing's going to happen. He's going to take him down eventually. Bobby Green's going to get in a bad position. He's going to give up his neck, and we're going to see a rear naked choke. I don't know. Bobby Green could absolutely win this. His method of victory is he stuffs the takedowns, and he fucking outstrikes him. Bobby Green's last fight, he came off a win against Tony Ferguson by arm triangle, but even in that fight, he was hittable. I think Tony Ferguson dropped him. He did drop him, yes. Something like that. He fucking hurt Bobby Green in the first round, which shouldn't be happening. But Grant Dawson, as we know, he is a good wrestler. He wants to submit you, or I guess lay and prey on you, I guess. But Damir Magulov was a guy I was pretty high on. He was able to take him down, wrestle fuck him, and he did some crazy shit to him in the last round. Full Nelson, I don't know the name of it. I think he full Nelsoned him, and it was pretty fucking embarrassing. Sad retirement for Damir Magulov if he chooses to stay in retirement. But Grant Dawson is a guy who a lot of people are saying are very underrated, but you can't really tell because he hasn't really been faced with all that much adversity. He has a draw against Ricky Glenn, who is also fighting on this card. But if they rematch, I'm taking Grant Dawson in that fight. Bobby Green, I'm cheering for. He's promotable. He's funny. Fucking hilarious. I hope he stuffs the takedowns. Outpoints him. Does he KO? I don't think he KOs unless Grant Dawson gasses. Overall, I'm not the most excited for this main event, but the entire card should have some very, very fun scraps. Now that I have broken down the entire card, I'm going to be giving you my most confident underdog and some of my favorite sprinkle plays for this week. Starting out with my most confident underdog, I have Alex Morono. I just like his danger on the ground. He's a high-level black belt, and he's power in the hands. He's very good in the pocket. I think this fight will reach the pocket. He's going to clip Buckley and get the finish by KO or submission. You could play him by finish, but I could also see him just hurting Buckley, outstriking him, and getting the win on the scorecard as well. So I would lean towards the money line, but if you want to play the KO and submission, I'm there with you. I have a parlay with his money line, Felipe Lin's money line, and Bill Aljo money line. Just put a little bit of some units on there because that's a very good value. I believe all those picks will hit, as I did explain before. If you believe in my predictions, fucking throw a little bit on that parlay. Now we're going to move on to the sprinkles of the card. We're going to be looking at Orichi Lang versus Johnny Munoz Jr. I picked Orichi Lang by a KO in round one. I'm going to be putting a little bit on that exact prop. I think it's around plus 400. Anywhere from plus 400 to plus 800 is where it's at. I don't have the exact number right now. But I like that play. I'm going to do a little bit of sprinkle there. It'll give me a reason to watch the fight. And I think that's Orichi Lang's most likely path to victory, which is why I picked that prediction. Moving on up the card. The next Mystic prediction, we're going to have Mendoza by round one. This one's around plus 250 to plus 300. This is a little bit of a sprinkle. I'm just throwing a little bit of something so I have something to watch for in this fight. Because if Mataush doesn't get the finish in round one, this could be a somewhat boring fight. Or Mataush could just wrestle fuck him, which I hope doesn't happen. The next Mystic play, or actually I will also say this, if you aren't very confident in the Felipe Lin's Ion Cutelaba fight, Ian Kutalaba fight. I would say by round 1 KO because I do trust Felipe Lin's submission defense. However, if he gets clipped, you know how that works. He gets sub. Club and sub is a real thing. Felipe can get sub. So if you want to play Ian Kutalaba round 1 and then hedge with maybe however you think Felipe is going to get it done. Like I said, I have him by KO or just a finish in round 2 or 3. Maybe if you want to hedge that way. Felipe could also get it done by decision. If anyone gets it done by decision, it's probably going to be Felipe by a boring decision. My next Mystic play, which is one of my favorite values in the entire card, if not the favorite value in the entire card. Don't hammer it. Sprinkle something light on it. It's something to look out for, and I think it's going to happen. I predicted Aljo by KO round 3. I put something on that prop. It's plus 2,200 on my bookie, which is betonline.ag. And I also put money on Aljo by knockout. I think this fight will remain on the feet because Alexander Hernandez has a very good wrestling defense. I don't think Alexander Hernandez wants the fight to hit the ground because grappling is very tiring and he doesn't have the greatest cardio. Alexander Hernandez tends to like to strike. I can see Aljo clipping him round 3, just overwhelming him with volume, getting the KO, because I can almost guarantee by round 3 against Bill Aljo, Alexander Hernandez is going to be gassed, whether or not he's taking steroids. So I like that play. Plus 2,200 is just crazy to me. I threw $1 on it. I'm going to be throwing a couple more on it. Also, like I said, KO as well. Maybe submission. Submission's not a bad prop either. I just think it's going to be KO. Ricky Glenn versus Drew Dober. I sprinkled some on Drew Dober round 1 KO, so I have something to watch it for because I believe it's around plus 150. A little bit better odds than that. I think it's like plus 165 to be exact. I don't mind that. I'm not going to hammer it. I just put like a 5-piece on it so I can watch it, have something to watch it for. Moroo versus Buckley, like I said, I'm just moving on up the card, sorry. I like Moroo money line. If you want to bet Moroo finish, you can bet that. And then for the main event, there's nothing I really like all that much. I did bet Abdul Razak Al Hassan by KO as well. I think it's like plus 450. Put $1 on it just to have something to watch for. I'm cheering for Abdul. I like the value on that. Throwing a couple Mystic props out there. Do I know if they're going to hit? No. Do I believe all of them are going to hit? No. Do I believe with 100% certainty they're going to hit? No. They're underdog money for a reason. The one that I would say has over a 50% chance of hitting, so I actually do believe in a prediction, if that does make sense, statistically will happen, is Drew Dober round 1 knockout. With that being said, thank you for watching this video. I will have a prediction video out for next week and potentially more content coming soon. Thank you for watching my first video. This has been Chol MMA. Have a good one.